green, and ready for lean. The newest street naked from Kawasaki is ready to take on the urban scramble. But is it capable of even more than that?
Now we all know that the Z800 from Kawasaki was an absolute bomb to ride. It had a brilliant engine, extremely predictable handling, and was made by Kawasaki from 2013 to 2016. For 2017, Kawasaki has replaced the Z800 with the Z900, and we've taken it to the streets to see how much has actually changed.
Carrying forth the Sugoi styling of its predecessor, this new Z900 displays a new headlight cluster in the Z series. The front bikini fairing is all new, so is the tail section, and it even exhibits a new exhaust design. This new twin headlight has a more fluid look to it, with a forward jutting jawline that accentuates its aggressive look. The negative lit LCD speedometer is all new and shared with the likes of the Z650 and the Ninja 650. It's got a nice semicircular cascading tachometer, a gear indicator, and a large centralized digital speed readout. The tank has got a nice organic shape to it that goes well with the typically Sugoi design theme. There's a nice wide seat that follows that's well padded and reasonably comfortable on longer hauls. The tail end culminates in a typically Z series fashion and has the LEDs placed in the shape of a Z. The slightly boxy and angular nature of the Z800's design has given way to more organic curves. It is still unmistakably a Z, and its overall silhouette has been pretty much carried over from its predecessor. One point that must be mentioned is the exquisite levels of overall fit and finish.
Now the seating position on the Z900 doesn't feel overly aggressive. In fact, it's quite neutral. And thanks to the compactness of the motorcycle, it doesn't feel intimidating at all. In fact, this would make a great city bike and wouldn't say no to a little bit of touring as well. Of course, you might need to get a slightly higher windscreen for that.
The Z900 gets a frame that's all new as well. Kawasaki has dropped the older cast alloy backbone chassis from the Z800 in favor of a tubular steel trellis unit that weighs only 13.5 kilos, which is about 1.5 kilo lighter than the similarly new trellis on the smaller Z650. With 5 rigid mounts to the motor, it makes the engine a stressed member of the overall chassis now.
Now this 948cc inline 4-cylinder motor is derived from the Z1000 and makes 125 horsepower in this state of tune, which is still 12 horsepower and 17 Newton meters of torque more than the Z800. Now if you combine that with the 20 kilos of less weight on the Z900, what you get is a bike that is really fun to ride.
As expected from an inline 4-cylinder engine from Kawasaki, refinement levels of this engine are simply exquisite. From the moment you thumb the starter button, there's a nice bassy buzz that transforms into a positively manic howl as the revs climb. As expected from a naked, the engine offers a nice meaty mid-range with a noticeable kick after 6000 RPM. The engine has been equipped with a secondary balancer driven on the 6th web of the crankshaft to reduce some of the excess vibrations, and there's minimal vibration in any situation. Kawasaki has also developed an assist and slipper clutch which makes action at the lever light and assists with excessive engine braking. In keeping with its Street Fighter character, the Z900 gets a short ratio gearbox with pretty closely stacked gears until the 5th gear, and the 6th gear is a relatively tall one. In fact, combined with the high refinement levels, you can pull away from speed breakers from 20 km/h in 3rd gear with no resistance whatsoever. Suspension, on the other hand, hasn't seen a massive revision over the outgoing model. It retains the beefy 41mm adjustable upside-down forks at the front. The back still has the familiar horizontally mounted linked monoshock. Overall ride quality is quite good over our less than perfect Indian road conditions. Bumps and low and high speed are handled in a predictable manner. While most mechanicals have either improved or stayed the same, brakes tell a slightly different story. The dual petal rotors at the front seem to have reduced in size from 310mm to 300mm, but retain the opposed 4-piston calipers, and the stopping power of the Z900 is far from insufficient. While the initial bite is light and predictable, squeeze on a bit harder and the brakes will scrub off speed at a phenomenal rate. One noteworthy point that must be mentioned is the cooling system. It's absolutely outstanding. Even while ambling through heavy city traffic, there are almost negligible levels of heat from the engine, which is commendable for a larger displacement motorcycle.
Now the Z900 is a great replacement for the Z800. It's simple, light and effective. All the ingredients you need for a motorcycle that's really fun to ride. But because of the lack of traction control, we feel this would be a better suited bike for intermediate to well-seasoned riders. Now the bump in pricing is really worth it. You get a whole lot of bike. That's a lot of fun and still quite easy to ride.